Hello and bonjour, Julia here. Hello, Spirit of Black Paris newsletter readers. Good to see you again. And here we are in the dog days of July, right? Um, Last time I saw you, I said that I would be coming to you from a whole different location, and I am. I have done this. See this? I got in my car and I changed my life. Moved up the river, and now I am living in Montreal. That's right, I went from southern Ontario up from English country down to French country, which is interesting. It's not my first time in Montreal living here. This is my third time in Montreal. The first time I came, in my early 20s, I came to improve my French so I could get my dream job as a flight attendant, and I did. And then the next time I came back, I came directly from France after having done a year abroad program. And I lived my first 5 years as a wife here, but I also went into middle management in the hotel industry, working at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. And I also learned filmmaking here. So Montreal has been pretty good to me so far. So why this time? This time I decided to come because of COVID-19. And you go, well, if you know it, the funny thing is, if you know anything about the COVID-19 spread in Canada, Quebec is the province that has the highest number of infections, the highest number of deaths. So I went from a relatively low controlled environment to one that was just like exploding all over the place. But why? I had a good reason. My youngest daughter, lives up in Montreal. She goes to university here. And since I couldn't go to France this year, usually I'm there from April to November, I thought, well, why not take this opportunity? I'll just go and be closer to my daughter. My father said to me, he says, do you really think she really wants you to be that close to her? But as it turns out, she does. But the good thing for her is that now she can borrow my car and she can go off on all kinds of escapades. So that's one advantage. Um, the thing about moving is, and I'm sure all of you have moved a couple of times, any number of times, is that you have to get used to. The thing is, the adventure is getting used to how things work in your new city. And even though, like I said, I've been here before, there was no such thing as recycling and that kind of thing when I got one is here back in the day. So first thing the landlord said to me was, you have to put this garbage out on that day and that garbage out on that day. And I went, So I looked up online, I made myself a chart, and I know that the food waste goes out on this day, and the household waste goes out on this day, and this, and this. And I look out the window and I say, who's got what out, right? So I take a cue from what's going on around me. Another thing I had to figure out was the parking. And you go, okay, so there's a lot of the houses or the apartments don't have parking spaces. So you park on the side street. And the thing is, though, the parking is a bit of a cash grab. There are signs on the streets when you drive up the street, and half the time, because many of the side streets have got lots of trees on, it's pretty lush. So half the time the signs are covered. But there's a sign that'll say on one side of the street, you can't park here on Thursday between 11:30 and 12, or 11:30 and 2. And then so everybody has to shift their car to the other side of the street. And then this side, you can't park between Monday and F and that street. So I didn't quite get it right. Got myself a ticket within the first, I don't know how many days I was here. It's $79. So yes, cash grab. So little things like that you got to figure out. COVID-19, does everybody have to wear a mask? I'm looking around me. Nobody's wearing a mask. All right, but I've got mine. I go into the grocery store, and as of last Friday, everybody has to wear a mask. Everybody's afraid of the second wave. The government says, now we're going to nip this in the bud. And so everybody has to wear a mask inside the grocery stores, inside buildings, inside public transportation. So I've got that locked down. You're moving, you have to buy new things, you have to buy a lamp, you have to go to do this and that. And mostly the time I spent at the hardware store. So the other day I realized I'd forgotten my coffee grinder. So I get over to the hardware store. What's the word in French for coffee grinder? And I'm going, is it the French word, like from France, or is there a special word in Quebec? And I asked the salesperson in French, and she had no idea. So she said, but if it's to do with coffee, it's over there. So I went over there and found out what the word was. But that's part of it is a language thing. But I'm going to come back to the language thing. Here's where I've landed. This is what my house looks like from the front. That's me right there on the stairs, the very first afternoon of my arrival. So I've taken the time to go and look around my neighborhood. And you've got to find the key things first, right? Here's the bakery. I found the bakery. This is what the houses look like. Like the houses in Montreal don't look like anywhere else in Canada. They've got these 3 levels, and you get up them by these outside stairs for the most part. I managed and I made sure to get a place where the stairs were on the inside, because you can imagine, first of all, in Montreal, the snow's up to here in the winter, right? So you're trying to trudge up these stairs to your door in the winter, and good luck with that, right? And at my age, not happening, no. So there's all these little things, and this is where, for example, down the street, I found where people hang out here for their socially distanced night evening drinks or afternoon drinks here. And this in Montreal, you'll also find this, or as nowhere else, you find these little alleyways. There you have the main streets, you have those side streets that have lots of trees on them, but then in between there's little alleyways that pass in between, and you know, place where kids hang out. You can gets you off the main street, and it's like little like shortcuts, but they're all over, and they're pretty cool. So here's one that I noticed along the way. It's called l'allée sans regret. So no regrets on this street, on this little alley. So who knows? Who knows? And there's obviously a story there, right? No doubt about that. One thing that is very much that characterizes life in Quebec is language politics. Let me give you an example here. Here, see this here? This sign was painted on the street last week. The Black Lives Matter movement, as you've seen all over the world. But in Quebec, the Bill 101 says, and since in the last 30 years, that since the late 1970s, that the French language has to take predominance over English or any other language. Whether it's anything printed, whether it's on the street signs, the store signs, everything, you know, the flyers in the newspaper for your groceries, everything, French comes first, and sometimes, quite often, there's no English. That bill came into was passed because it was a way for to get French-speaking people into management in large companies, because you know, English was the dominance, has long been the dominance, and long been the dominance where this fight between English and French has been going on since the 1600s, when the French and the English were fighting over this, what was Canada. And that's been going on since then. The English won, and the French have been fighting for their heritage ever since. So this Bill 101 makes sure that French is a dominance, and that the French language does not get lost out. And you know what? I can understand it, and I totally agree, because if you go out to other parts of Canada and you're French speaking, good luck finding French, right? It's just not going to happen. In Toronto, yes, there's Manitoba, there's other little pockets, but no. And the French, and so I totally agree, and I understand it. But so you can see on this Black Lives Matter in big in French, and they're allowed to put it in English. That was they had to agree to that, of course, to be able to do this signage. And that, you know, when I first came to Quebec in the late 1970s, I came at the time when that language war was just at its toughest. And you know, all the large companies, like insurance companies, just that were English speaking for the most part, just picked up stakes and went down the river to Toronto. So that left an economic hole in Montreal. And but you know, I found living here before that I discovered the Québécois music, art, filmmaking. Everything was just so rich because they were insular. And I just love it. And you have a very distinct culture, and definitely worth protecting here. I have to say that when I first got here, when I first here in the 80s, I didn't realize I had never met any French-speaking Black people. And so when I was at the university, saw Africans there, and then realized that there were Haitians here. So there's a whole lot of, you know, the whole side of history, that heritage that there's not in the rest of Canada or elsewhere. So one thing I'm looking forward to here is discovering Black history here and heritage here. I know some of it already. I know, you know, it's been 300 years that Blacks have been in Canada. Many come through slavery, but then later on, there's the railway porters that came up to the United States that worked on the trains, and the end of the journey was in Montreal in an area called Little Burgundy, and that's where the Black community was established. And it was a good, strong community, a really good, strong community. So it's no longer there. It's been dispersed. If I want to meet English-speaking Black people, I know what's part of the city, and it's in the west side of the city, as opposed to here in the east side where I am. The city, it's more francophone. On the west side, I know I'll find English-speaking Blacks if I look for them. But I'm going to go over to Little Burgundy because I know that there's these huge murals on the wall. For example, this one to Oscar Peterson, native son who was born and raised here, and many others. So I'm going to go check those out. But also, I discovered also that there is Black History Tour here. So you know I'm going to take that one, and I will tell you all about it. So I hope that you make plans eventually when we can start traveling and you can start coming and you can come back into Canada, that you will come up to Montreal at some point, and I'm going to spend my time getting to know the heritage, the history, all that makes Montreal cool. And so when you come, we'll have a whole smorgasbord of things for you to enjoy here in La Belle Province de Québec and in the very cool city of Montreal. So that's it for me this week. Take care, and below here you'll see some activities that I'm suggesting that you might be interested in over the next couple of weeks, and I will see you again soon. So because I'm in Quebec, I'm going to say au revoir, bonjour, salut, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.